Today, I'm going to start an AI automation service from absolutely zero and get actual prospects to schedule calls with us all in real time, completely unfiltered. There's going to be no preparation for this, no scripts, no cherry-picked results, and you're going to see every single step, every mistake, every pivot, and exactly how someone goes from having zero business to interested prospects willing to pay for AI services. So here's what we're going to be covering in the next hour or so. Now, first, I'm just going to be picking a profitable niche, and then we are going to be using a simple framework that really anybody can follow. Then from there, we are going to be identifying exactly what AI service to sell these people based on real market research. Now, after that, we are going to be setting up the entire lead generation infrastructure, creating our offer, launching our outreach campaign, and by tomorrow, I will be showing you the actual responses and booking real sales calls. Hopefully, if we actually get responses. Now, the goal here, it isn't just to entertain you, it's to give you a complete blueprint that you can copy and paste to start your own AI automation service business. So grab a coffee, take some notes, and let's build something profitable together. But let's jump right in. Okay, so the first step that you guys can see, if we go up to phase one, we need to pick our niche. So most people, they really spend months analyzing for the perfect niche, and they never actually start. That is essentially just analysis paralysis. Instead, we are going to be using a proven framework that is going to cut through all of the confusion. Now, I really quick just wanted to mention a little bit about the reality of actually picking a niche. So I just want to say that the best niche that you can possibly find is the one that you're going to be sticking to for 1 to 2 years. So the worst niche, this is just going to be the one that you hopped into and abandoned after maybe a few weeks, a few months or so. And all niche problems, it's going to be created by a lack of knowledge or lack of execution, not niche flaws. So with that being said, let's write out a little bit like, why is switching niches so destructive? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Because every time you switch niches, so the more you switch, you're essentially just resetting to zero. So you lose all of your industry knowledge, your credibility, your case studies, and even relationships. So it's really just like learning a new language every few months instead of just becoming fluent in that one language. So the more you switch, we'll say you reset to zero. And obviously everything is going to compound if you are able to. Let's try to organize things a little bit so you guys can download this after. Put that within here. Maybe we'll want to expand this a lot more, but this will be fine for now. Okay, here are some other things that are going to be non-negotiable, and that is going to be the keystone criterias. And essentially like all of these different things, they are going to need to be true. So the keystone criteria. Now, the first one, this is just going to essentially be painful automation solvable problems that exist within that market or within that niche. So this is looking a little bit wonky, as you guys can tell. So let's try to fix this up a little bit. Keystone criteria. Okay, there we go. Number two, this is going to be having a strong market demand for what they are selling. All right. So obviously you want to find people who actually need AI automation services, whether that's content generation systems or maybe it's a sales system, whatever it may be. Number three, it must be a growing or stable industry, because you don't want to be 2 years down the line, unless you're just trying to get, a short, quick win. You don't want to end up being 2 years in and your industry is basically just declining and no one's starting a new marketing agency, for example, just a random example out of the hat. So number three, just make sure that the industry is growing or stable. Now, number four, we want to ensure that our niche is going to have the financial capacity to actually afford our solutions. So they should be able to afford, $2,000 to $10,000 monthly investments. So can afford our services. Also, this isn't coming out as neatly as I liked. Maybe if let's do this. There we go. That's exactly what we're looking for. I've been using Excalidraw for maybe a year now and still don't know how to use it properly. Anyways, number 5 is personal interest. So you will be spending ideally thousands if you don't quit. Ideally, you would be spending hundreds and thousands of hours within this niche. So you better have a damn good reason for why you are going to be within this niche, and having a reason for like, what do you want to solve within this, and like what problems do you want to solve. So we'll just say for 5, personal interest, you'll spend thousands of hours here. Okay. And here is the pretty much what I call a secret weapon that most people are actually missing. And that is personal connections within this industry. So a lot of people really just oversee this, but like, listen, if you have a friend who owns a law firm, you should absolutely start there. If your uncle runs maybe a construction company, well, that's going to be your niche. And if you know somebody in real estate, like boom, that is where you begin. And why this is actually so game changing is because, I mean, your connected business owner, it's going to become your beta tester. So they will let you essentially build solutions for their real problems in exchange for a testimonial and social proof. And once you solve their issues and you get that case study, that social proof, like your approach is going to be going to every similar business, to that law firm or construction company, and just saying like, hey, we helped Smith and Associates essentially just reduce their intake time by 60% with this system. Do you want to see how we can do the same thing for you? And that's going to be your in. So you really just need social proof and case studies to get to that next stage. And this as a whole, like, it is going to cut your client acquisition time from months to weeks, because you already have proof, not any promises. So yeah, if you have connections, absolutely, you should leverage them. And definitely take a further step within this. If you don't have any business owners that you know within your immediate friends and family, you could be asking everybody that you know, like, hey, I'm looking to dive into this niche. Do you know any business owners? And I'm sure they'll be able to point you in the right direction. If you are asking 100 people, you'll definitely get 1 or 2 people that would be able to help you out. So just write this out. Number 6 is going to be one of the most important ones: personal connections. Okay, now next up is going to be just a little bit about competition. So within picking a niche, most people, they get stuck. Again, they go through this sort of analysis paralysis because they are worried about competition. And everyone's getting this wrong because, I mean, listen, there might be 2,000 competitors in a space, but only 10% have more than maybe like 4 clients. And you really only need about 30 to 50 clients from millions of different prospects, depending how big your market and target industry is going to be. But that's like 0.0025% of market share for a 7-figure agency right there. So everyone's usually worried about saturation, but the truth is that niches, they do not really saturate, but instead it's the offers and it's the methods that actually do. So when everybody is doing the same thing, you being just a little bit different, it really makes you stand out. So let's just mark that down here. So do not worry about competition. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit so you guys can actually see this. All right, now for this particular demonstration, we are going to be choosing real estate wholesalers. So let me explain this a little bit. Now, why we are actually going to be choosing real estate wholesalers for this particular example is, I mean, it's something that I've always wanted to target, specifically within cold outreach, because we do have a couple of real estate wholesalers on board right now, and we've never actually done any cold traffic towards this niche, and we haven't seen anybody else do it. So I believe that we could definitely close some deals within this. So that's what we're going to be trying out, and I have genuine interest in it. So let's target them. Now, all of these real estate wholesalers, these are really just investors who just find distressed properties. They get them under contract and they sell those contracts. So these real estate wholesalers, I mean, these are just investors who find distressed properties. They get them under contract and then they sell those contracts to just other investors. So an average deal for them is about $5,000 to $50,000, where they're constantly generating motivated sellers and seller leads through marketing, whether it be direct mail or cold calls or digital ads. Now, here is their particular problem. So let's find a way to actually format this all properly. Whoops, getting ahead of myself. So real estate wholesalers, and watch, by the time I release this video, there's going to be thousands of other people targeting real estate wholesalers. It's generally how it goes, monkey see, monkey do, right? But as long as you guys understand this framework, you're going to be fine off anyways. So what we're choosing is real estate wholesalers. Now, here is their problem. So their problem is when somebody responds to their marketing and calls the number that they typically are putting on their forums or putting on wherever their call to action is, they need immediate professional responses. And most of these real estate wholesalers, they are using virtual assistants who often have, very thick accents. It's people who are offshores, cheap labor, and they do not know the local markets. They aren't available 24/7, and they often give off these poor first impressions that are, I would put it bluntly, just costing them deals. So they're already spending about maybe $2,000 plus a month on VAs in call centers. They already understand the value of lead response. And just one saved deal for them, it pays for our service for maybe 6 to 12 months. So it would be a perfect match. So I'll just write out our problem. It's going to be costly VAs not being able to handle calls 24/7, missed, I would say just leads and deals slipping through the cracks. Awesome. So let's actually make this look a little bit prettier. Now, my approach right now, it is not going to be your typical approach. What you would want to do is, of course, find a niche. You can actually find different niches if you were to join my community. We have 3 different days. So within the first day, we have a list of, essentially like pre-proven markets. So I'll give you a little, I'll preface a little bit. We've had thousands of people fill out forms with us, filling in their pain points and essentially like what solutions they're looking for. So a bunch of different markets, a bunch of different industries. So what we've done is we've taken thousands of those forms and we essentially condensed it into what we've been seeing the most. And this is what we have come up with. Also, just being in the space for 2 years, this is what we have found to be more or less the best 7 markets to choose from. So again, if you're looking to get all these pre-proven niches, then feel free to join our community. But for the most part, I'll give you away a few of them. So like one of them you can see is, let's go into this video a little bit. So professional services. So things like injury law firms or family law practices, accounting and CPA firms, insurance agencies. Now, some particular niches within this, it would be for like accounting and CPA firms. It would be tax preparation, business accounting, financial consulting, or for business law firms, it would be like corporate legal services, contract management. So all of these things are ripe for automation. And we give you about 6 other, aside from this professional services, we give you about 6 other markets that are very proven. So feel free to dive into that yourself. Also, we go through a range of different things like giving you access to our emails and how to set everything else up for success. But besides that, this video, it should be enough for you to be able to at least achieve some booked calls. So let's get back into Excalibur. So ideally, like what you would do if you don't already have a niche is find something, pick something from what I was just discussing, maybe one of those professional services like a law firm. So just make sure whatever you end up actually choosing, you can put it through this keystone criteria and it is going to pass. So you just want to make sure that you can say yes to about 90% of these things. Honestly, 100% of these things would be the best bet. Now, I would suggest choosing about maybe 3. That's really what we did when we were first starting out. It was B2B SaaS companies, marketing agencies, and law firms. So within these 3, what we did is we just essentially we're finding which one are we most interested in, which one do we have connections within, and we kind of started diving in from there. So it won't be as simple as the process as I just showed you, where we're just going with real estate wholesalers, because this is something that's been on my mind, but perhaps in the future we will upload something else where we actually go through that niche process. Anyways, let's move on to the next section. So this next section, as you guys see up here, this is going to be service identification. So service identification, that's just fancy jibber jabber, if that's even a phrase, for determining what to sell. So we need to figure out like what specific AI services should we actually be selling these people. So let's just try to make this even more pretty, and let's put an arrow right there, and it looks amazing. So let us determine what's to sell. Now, just to preface, where most people actually mess up within this, determining what's to sell this particular niche, is they assume that they know what the market wants. So let me just actually write that out because it is very important. The number one mistake is people assume that they know what the market wants. And if you're just starting out, you do not. You have to be doing research. Now, I understand the pain points that these real estate wholesalers face because we have 2 clients within this. We've had a few different real estate wholesalers who we haven't closed in the past who have admitted their pain points to us. So like these are very validated pain points, and we know that we can solve them. So this is something that we have extensive background, or I wouldn't say background, but research within. Now, let me show you exactly like how you should be doing this research when you are going to be picking your niche. So like when you are researching your chosen niche, right? You really just want to go to where this niche is residing. Where do they operate? Where do they congregate online? So go to where your niche operates and lives. So is it maybe going for like real estate investors? Maybe it's I think it's Bigger Pockets for real estate investors, or for real estate wholesalers, we can go to Facebook groups like real estate wholesaling, whatever else. You can mix and match some keywords and you'll find some relevant communities within there. Or I mean, you could go to Reddit communities, like what would it be, like real estate investing, or you can even go to Scrape. Terrible line. Okay. Now, beyond this, some additional research that you can't find anything within these Facebook groups is going to, I wouldn't go this far, but you can even like scrape YouTube comment sections. So really like what you're looking for is you're looking for complaints and like questions about scaling and problems with operations, and really just like these time-consuming tasks. So you can scroll through recent posts in these groups and you can look for patterns, and you really just want to see the same problems mentioned over and over again. So what you're looking for again is common themes of problems across the industry, to put it pretty simply. So let's just see if we can underline that. LinkedIn, if they actually reside on LinkedIn. So first, decide where does your niche operate. From there, if you cannot either go to this, then we're going to be going to this method essentially, where we're going to contact these operators on the niche or the platform. So if it's Facebook, well, you're going to be contacting them on Facebook and just simply asking them of their pain points. So we actually have a script they can get from our community, and let's just pull that right now. So let's go into here. Let's go into, I believe it would be offer. Actually, no, it's within market research and questions. Go into our files and let's just grab this really quick. Okay, so within here, we can be saying, hey, I saw you are the position at company or working in a specific niche. I'm launching a business focused on solving real problems within your industry, and I'd love to ask you a few questions to help validate potential solutions and pick your brain on what would actually help you and others in this industry. So taking a very similar approach to this, where we're not pitching them right there, but instead, like, what we're doing is we're just simply asking, like, hey, we're new within this industry. Can I ask you some questions about your pain points? And you're going to, light them up, asking them whatever it may be. Or if you don't know any ideas of like what pain points they could be facing already, just ask them straight up, like, what are your bottlenecks? Ideally, you can get on a call with these people. So contact these operators on the platform and ask about pain points. Aim for getting on a call. And on this call, obviously you're going to be asking for pain points specifically, but the kind of kicker here is once you actually have their pain points, well, I mean, you're going to be in a prime position to then pitch them. And usually you'll say, like, I promise this isn't a pitch, but I mean, what are you going to lose? At this stage, you have their pain points. All you have to do is suggest how you can solve those pain points. And this is just where you should be having a fundamental understanding of the space and like what you can actually be building out there nowadays. And it's pretty simple to be able to determine, like, okay, well, if they are having onboarding issues, maybe it's as simple as saying, we'll solve this with an AI onboarding system where you can try to give them a little bit of like technical jargon and try to see if like you guys can actually build it out for free for them in return for a testimonial. So like that's specifically where you would say, like, on that call, I know, like I mentioned, I wouldn't pitch you, but I actually have something that I've built out that I would love to implement for your company, and we'll do it for completely free. In return, like, we'll just ask for a testimonial. And I mean, usually people are always skeptical to take on like free work just because like nothing's really free in this world. But yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's not free because you will be getting something from them in the end. But this is where and what you have to do within the beginning. And it is just going about this approach where you're going to be giving up your time for testimonials instead of trying to get paid for your time, because it's not as simple as that. Speaking from personal and past experience and what we have seen the most within the AI space, being that we've been teaching for a little over a year now. Okay, so just to summarize, aim for getting on a call with these operators, ask for their pain points specifically. Once you understand them, ask to implement a solution to solve for them. Okay. Now, based on my actual research, here are like the specific pain points that I have identified for real estate wholesalers, as I already mentioned them a little bit earlier on, but the first one is going to be, let's actually just write this out. So pain points for real estate wholesalers. So number one, it's going to just be like VAs with heavy accents causing sellers to hang up. And I mean, this consequently, it just loses deals immediately. Number two, this is going to be inconsistent call handling, which depends on the VA's mood and ego, or maybe skill level, and even availability. Number three is going to be, I'm going to try to list out maybe 6 or 7. We'll see how many I can actually remember. So number three, it's going to be missing calls during off hours and weekends and holidays when motivated sellers are calling back. Number four, this would be callers getting frustrated when reps do not know their specific property details. So, for example, if a lead is contacting a real estate wholesaler, let's actually back up a little bit. These real estate wholesalers, they reach out to these leads trying to buy their properties, and they say, like, hey, call this number if you're interested in this X offer, where they'll give an amount, maybe like 50,000, for example. So the person will call back and they'll ask, like, hey, you guys left an offer for my property on Cleveland Avenue. And what the system actually has to do, or what the VA would have to do, or the call center, or whoever's taking these calls, is they would have to go into the system and find like which property they're talking about, because they have to be able to answer specific information on it. So it often takes a lot of time to train these people, and like they're still going to mess things up. I mean, it's just human error that's going to be coming up a lot. So with an AI system, like what we would be able to do, and what we have done, is automatically have the system within literally seconds of the lead or the prospect telling them the unique identifier, whether that's like the property address or something else. Then the AI system's going to go into the backend or like the database and actually grab that information, return it on the call, whatever they really need. So callers are getting frustrated when the reps do not know their specific property details. And I think frustrated is really not doing it justice, because it's losing deals. So anyways, let's move on to number 5. So this one would probably be number 1. Number 5 is call volume burnout. I mean, especially handling like RVMs, hostile RVMs, which are just ringless voicemails. So handling hostile RVM callbacks professionally. 6 is paying, I would say, over $2,000 monthly for VAs and call centers who cannot provide 24/7 coverage. So the key thing to know within this is that, I mean, these aren't just problems they are already paying to solve. So that makes it even more important. So they're spending, I don't know, maybe $2,000, let's just call it $2,000 for now, $2,000 plus in monthly fees just on like these VAs. And if it's American that they're paying to handle these calls, I mean, they're going to be burning out, and they're probably paying even more for them to handle these calls. So they're paying them to handle this exact function that we would be building out for them anyways. And typically, like, they're not happy historically with them. So that just means this value is proven, the budget exists, and we just need to offer a better solution for them, which luckily for us, we do have. So here is the solution that we are actually going to be writing out. So the solution to solve for this, let's connect the dots here. So we'll connect this to this, and we'll connect this to this. I don't know why it's not doing the whatever. Solutions to solve for this. Okay. So, I mean, it can be answering every call with perfect local accents and professional tones, instantly pulling up property specific details from their CRM and Google Drive. And by the way, if you guys do not know like what solutions to be offering, well, like I mentioned earlier, you should already have like a fundamental understanding of like what you can be building within the space. Especially if you've been watching me for a while, you probably have a decent understanding of, you know, the tech space and what's possible and feasible to actually be building out. But we also mention it within that document, which you can get within our school community. It's currently $49 to join, but of course, we increase every single month when we get more and more people. So you have to find a solution. And with this, of course, like, again, we're going to be building out like the AI voice solution. So the third one, handling hostile callers with consistent and calm demeanor, available 24/7, including weekends and holidays. And another one is going to be probably qualifies, I should say, motivated sellers using their proven scripts, booking appointments directly into the calendar. Zoom in a little bit. Booking appointments directly into the calendar. And let's try to add one more. Let's say like costs less than their current VA setup. Okay, so this is going to be perfect, I would say. So they're already spending about $2,000 per month on this exact function. They understand the value, because poor call handling, I mean, it directly costs them probably on the low end, $10,000, $50,000 in deals. And like an AI front office agent, it's going to solve like every single pain point while being cheaper and more reliable for them. So when you are doing this for your niche, make sure it's to look for problems that they are already paying to solve for. Like this is, I didn't even think about it prior, but like this is already something that's just working out perfectly because they clearly need this solution. So that is going to be your fastest path to revenue, because the buying behavior, it already exists. So it means it's going to be even easier for you to pitch these guys through cold channels like cold email, which is what we're going to be focusing on within this video. So you're just going to be offering a better mousetrap for them, more or less. All right, now next up, what we are going to be focusing on is going to be phase 3, which, as you guys see, is the lead sourcing. Now, we are going to be using Apollo for this particular process, but there is going to be plenty of different options. So it's going to depend where your audience, your target customer, is residing on. So for real estate wholesalers, I know that they always check their inboxes, at least most of them usually check their emails. They can live on LinkedIn as well, but maybe if you're targeting like HVAC, for example, they probably will not be easily contacted on LinkedIn or easily found on LinkedIn, and maybe Facebook is going to be a better alternative. But of course, like email, phone number, it's always going to be solid options for really any niche that you are choosing. So let's just try to separate this a little bit. So that's going to be phase 2. Now phase 3, so let's just write this out a little bit. So phase 3, lead sourcing, we're just going to be using Apollo. Now, if you did want to use LinkedIn, this is actually a very good option where you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, where you can sign up. I think it's about $60 a month or maybe $30 a month, something like that. To start off with, you can get some trials and everything like that. But I currently do not have Sales Navigator and I do not want to sign up right now. And also, we're focusing on speed right now and just quick results. So we're not going to be using LinkedIn, but you can actually use something called Vane. And I will include a discount down below in the description where you can sign up with them. Vane is essentially allowing you to scrape the leads from LinkedIn and exporting them. And you'll be able to find their emails and everything like that. So it's a great option if you are using LinkedIn Sales Navigator. But in any case, let's close this out because we're just going to be focusing on Apollo. Apollo, if you're not familiar with it already, it's just a email database where you can find vast amount of emails pretty quickly. So I actually already filled this in previously. So I did do a little bit of preparation. So maybe I was fibbing a little bit previously. So I'll break this down a little bit further. So you can see here, we have the job titles. We are targeting owners, co-owners, partners, CEOs, COOs, founders, acquisition manager, lead manager. You guys will notice that these are all decision makers within a company. So you can probably think of a few yourself. Maybe it is like a partner would be another solid one, and that's going to increase the amount of actual, looks like I already had partner within there, whoops. And this will just increase the amount of leads that you will be able to find. So if you find more decision makers or more like positions within a company, like for a law firm, you'll find that you may not want to target any maybe paralegals, for example. But within here, we could be targeting lead managers, acquisition managers, that sort of thing. Maybe we can add another partner account manager, partner owner. So there's a lot of different things that you can tweak to add more leads. This next piece, we're going to be focusing on the company size. So I want to be targeting 1 through 10, 11 through 20. Honestly, even like maybe 21 through 50 would be worth adding as well. So you can see we would have another 569 leads. So maybe worth adding that. So let's just go ahead and add 21 through 50. Typically, they might be a little bit too big if they have up to 50 employees. So we'll test it out, and perhaps in the future we can tweak it to remove those. Next up is the industry and keywords. This is the most important piece. So why I actually prep this beforehand is because it takes a while, and typically Apollo crashes on me for some reason. It just freezes. We're inputting all these keywords. So if you open this up, make sure you're not choosing the industry, because if you choose the industry, it will just be too broad and often you can't even get specific enough. So I can't find anything about like real estate wholesaling within here. I could choose real estate, but that's, it'll just kind of mess with my searches, at least from what I've found in the past. So within this, you need to be taking your essentially like niche. So what is it exactly? Is it a law firm? Is it real estate wholesaling? What is it? So just lay out and start with that. Real estate wholesaling. What I often do is I throw that into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever LLM you're using. And I just ask it like, hey, think of different tags that this, I can identify these companies from. So like we buy houses, cash home buyer, fair cash offer, off market properties, wholesale real estate, we buy land, sell my land fast, vacant land buyers, and a few others. So we're just getting very specific about what we're trying to find. On top of that, we can exclude any keywords. So I know a lot of them are going to be Remax, Keller Williams, Century 21, property management, realtor team, MLS listing. Maybe we can remove anything about like marketing. So let's exclude any marketing services and let's see like how many we are actually going to be getting from that. So if we add in marketing, well, it's going to be, well, actually that didn't make too much of an impact. So not a big deal, but essentially you're just trying to eliminate reaching out to people that aren't qualified buyers and only trying to find our targeted leads. Okay. So you might have to go through this list a little bit, go to page 20, 50, 100, and actually just determine like, are these different agencies? Because what you'll find is if you are reaching out to people who are not receptive to your message and the message doesn't make sense to them, they will flag your email and it will lower your deliverability rate, making it harder and harder to reach out to these people and close deals. Okay. That is essentially everything that we are doing within Apollo. Apollo, it's completely free. You don't have to worry about paying for this. So just sign up for a free account. You do not need the paid version. And what we also do is we include the email status as verified, but we will further later be verifying these even further. So what you'll do is you will copy this link and just hold on to that because we are going to be needing it for later. So with that link, we are going to be entering it into a spreadsheet. And this entire template, so this is what we're using to enrich our emails, verify our emails, and add them into Instantly. So we're going to be using this Google Sheet, and before I forget to say it, you can get this template within my paid community. So let's just go ahead, go to File, let's make a copy of Apollo search URL, and we're just going to be replacing this with whatever URL we just copied. All right, let's go back into N8N. As you guys can see, what you're going to need is Appify. You actually do not eventually need the paid version. So I'll just say free version. Not sure why I mentioned that before. So let's save that. You'll need Instantly. You will need Apollo. You will need OpenAI or Perplexity, and you will need Million Verifier. So let's start with Instantly. Instantly is where we're going to be, as I mentioned earlier in the video, sending our emails out. So Instantly, they make it very easy to send and do mass outreach. So you can see I have all these different email accounts. I have some with very low deliverability scores, but I have about 55 with solid health scores. So we're going to be using those 55. And if you are looking to warm up your emails, we'll dive into that in the next phase and how to actually acquire all these emails. For now, we're just focusing on actually getting the leads, enriching them. So a core component when you are sourcing these leads is making sure that you actually have some sort of personalization to them. So let's go back into N8N, and this is what this workflow is essentially doing. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's make sure we change the document. We may need to share access, just make sure. Okay, copy of Apollo search URL. So let's try to find that. Yeah, it looks like we need to share access with this N8N account. So I'll share it with my email. Don't want to notify myself, but that's okay. Go back to workflows and let's try to just refresh this. Copy of Apollo search URL. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Okay. And then we're going to be using I believe it would be the first tab, which is just search URLs. And this is where we're going to be putting in all of our leads. These are all fake emails, by the way, but this is what we are filling in right here. So I can actually remove all of this. Let's make sure there's nothing else within here. Okay, that looks good. Go within here. We're going to be choosing search URLs. We don't really need any filters. So let's just get this search URL, make sure it actually works. All right. So here we have our search URL. Now what we're doing is we're going to be putting this into Appify. So Appify is where we're going to be scraping all of these emails from these profiles that we're getting from Apollo. So you can see we are entering in this specific endpoint, but I'm not going to walk through all of this. You can get this within my community if you want to be choosing this, but more or less you can just look up the API documentation. I'll put this on the screen for a quick second as to what you would have to be using. So I'm putting in my API key, and within the JSON is where we are entering in our particular Apollo URL. So just make sure that this is the equivalent of your previous mapping. So if we come over into Appify, we are going to go to our store, and we're going to be basically just searching for this Apollo scraper. This one is actually from Codecrafter, but if you go into the Appify store and you search Appify, you'll find a bunch of different lists. Appify store scraper, or I'm sorry, it would be Apollo scraper. And we should be able to find something. Maybe if I just search Apollo. For some reason, they're not all coming up to the top, which is strange. Let's see. Maybe some of them have been deprecated or removed from the store. Let's try to scroll down a little bit further. Maybe some of them are being deprecated. I will leave a link where you guys can actually access this scraper, because this is what I currently use to, yeah, it looks like this actor has been deprecated. So in the future, it is going to be removed completely. But what you guys can actually explore a little bit further, if you wanted to use, and if by the time you're watching this video, it's just completely unavailable, what you can use is Rapid API. It's just another API marketplace where you can scrape from Apollo. So if we go into, let's go to the home. Okay, and we just search for Apollo. You can use this scraper right here. I'm not exactly sure what the pricing is going to look like. We can go into the overview and find out. Okay, so for the Pro, it's $25 per month, and you'll probably be able to get probably unlimited leads from this. It doesn't say exactly, but I would test this out and look at different options. But we're just going to continue using this Apollo one from Appify. So I'll have a link where you guys can be using this, or you can just copy this right here. Feel free to pause that. All right, you will have to have a paid plan if you want to scrape essentially more than 100 leads per run. So where does it even say that? Paying users can fetch up to 50,000 leads from a single search, while free users can fetch up to 100 leads per run. So if you want to, be scraping, we had about like 2,200 within here. If you want to be able to scrape that much in one single run, you will have to have the paid plan. So you can get like either the trial, or you can sign up with I think it's like $20 or $30 per month plan. In any case, we're going to be running this. And all we would normally have to do if you wanted to run it manually is just enter your search URL from Apollo. But of course, we are inserting it into N8N. So we inserted our URL right here. So the total records, I'm actually just going to enter 2,500. Hopefully it doesn't crash or anything, but we will see. So let's go ahead and start running this. And it is going to connect to our Appify account. If we go within our runs, you will see that it is now running. So it'll probably take maybe 10, 15 minutes. So I will come back to you guys once this is actually finished running. Well, it looks like this is actually running pretty fast, but yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Okay, so it looks like this just finished up, costed about $4. Got 2262 results, everything that was from Apollo. Now within N8N, we did run into an issue. So it ran into a timeout error because it took, how long did that take? It did take about 15 minutes, so I was almost exact with that. Now, because it took that long, it just timed out. So you can't extend the timeout within here, or what we're going to just be doing is we're just going to get the last data set item. So we obviously don't want to run this again and pay another $4. So instead, what we're going to do, we're going to go into Apollo, go into the Apollo scraper. And if you go into the API, we're going to be looking for the API endpoints and just interact with this. So let's scroll down enough, and we're just going to get the last run dataset item. So if you just copy this endpoint, bring it back into N8N, I'm just going to duplicate this node right here since we already have pretty much everything configured. And instead of running the only websites and emails, we're going to be running with this. So input your endpoint. You don't need the body within this. And let's try running this and see what happens. So I'm actually going to disable this just so it doesn't accidentally run that again, because I don't want to continue paying for something. So it looks like this data set is empty for some reason. So let's continue seeing what we have to do. So maybe we want to get the last run first. So let's try that and see what we get. Maybe get list of runs as well to identify like which ones. So we'll copy a couple different ones. Okay, it looks like the method not allowed. Oh, we actually want to do a GET request. So let's try that with the previous one. So let us just use, I believe it was, what, this endpoint? Can't remember exactly. Let's just go back and actually copy it. Go here, get last run, dataset item, copy that, throw it within here. Now try this. Okay, here's what we're looking for. Now that we have the leads, so we have 2,263 items. That is exactly what we're looking for. I'm not going to be showcasing the leads and everything because I do not want to give up all these emails because I can run into some issues with YouTube. So I have to be careful there. All right. Next up, we're going to run this through a filter where it's only going to grab the websites and the emails. So let's run this now. And then we're going to take these websites, take these emails, and then we're just going to throw it into Million Verifier. So Million Verifier, you will have to sign up for an account within this. And this is just going to be verifying all of these emails. So it's putting them through essentially just another filter, more or less. So you might need to add about like $20 to your account, add some credits, but it is relatively cheap for how many emails it actually verifies. So we can now close out Apollo. And let's go back into N8N. What happened there? So problem running workflow. Let's try running that one more time. We're going to pin the data from now on. So I'm going to pin this Google Sheet once this actually runs. I will pin this. I'll pin this. Looks like it was already pinned. Okay. All right, now we have our websites and emails only, so you can see how many did we get. And this is basically just making sure that we are not going through and getting any accounts or profiles that do not have websites and emails. So I guess I framed that a little bit differently there. So what we have done within Million Verifier, we have already done the heavy lifting, and we already found the API documentation and the endpoint that we have to enter within here. Here's my API key. It's going to be changed by the time that you guys watch this video, so don't even bother trying to use this. And we're just inserting the email and the timeout. So let's now verify this. We should have enough credits. And I believe that was my right API key, but let's see. Okay, so we have to run through this again. It's a seemingly pretty tedious process. Okay, so some changes we actually had to make. We ran into an issue with using the current Million Verifier API. There was an update to their system, which I hadn't known about. So we had to update the system and we had to use a bulk API endpoint. But again, you guys will be able to get all this within the community. So you won't have to worry about dealing with all of the research and debugging within the API, going through the documentation and that sort of thing. So what we actually did is we're still making the call to Appify. We're getting only the websites and the email. So anything that didn't have a website or an email, we scrap. Now we are converting all of this into a CSV. So taking all these emails and the profiles, putting them into a CSV, And then we are sending this into Million Verifier, where it's going to do this, essentially like mass upload. So within Million Verifier, you can see we have, so out of everything that we uploaded, only 73% were good emails, around 500 are risky, 3% were bad. So this is why we actually do this, because we could have risked our email account and the deliverability going down, and this is why we do this process. Okay, moving on. Once we actually upload that into Million Verifier, we have to get that report now. So this is where we're going to be using this HTTP request. I'm not going to dive into these too much. Really just want to keep this video pretty focused. So we're getting that report, and then we're extracting everything from that file. So extract it from that CSV. And this is where we are currently at. So we now have everything where it is verified. We only have the good leads now. So I'm actually going to pin this data so we don't have to go through all of these again. And I don't want to waste any of my credits. So let's see if we can even pin this first of all. Okay, perfect. Because sometimes N8N doesn't allow you to pin data if you have massive amounts of data. So let's move on and let's start enriching everything. So we're going to just click execute workflow. Actually deactivate that. So let's try that again. Deactivate the workflow and let's try to grab only the websites and emails, convert to file, and then it's going to extract from this. Let's see if we could just pin everything so we don't even have to run through all of those. Not exactly sure how that works in particular, but let's try it. And we'll run through this node. I'm just trying to get to this endpoint right here. Sometimes N8N can be a little bit tricky if you're trying to interact with later or any latter stage of your workflows. Let's see. Looks like it's getting stuck on the only websites and emails. So maybe if we call this one. Okay, so we're actually running into issues with that. So it won't run past this convert to file. So simple fix. And this is just what we have to do for this particular video. You should just be able to run through this just one time when you are actually using this workflow. What we're going to do is we're going to connect this to the extract from file, and we're just going to test from this point forward because we already have all the data that we need right here. So let's just make sure that everything is actually mapped in properly. It doesn't look like let's try this first of all. Nope, well, that's not working. So we will try it with this node instead, where we will grab this. It'll connect to the extract from file. And I believe this, fingers crossed, will work properly. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. Now we are able to go through this process. So before we actually run through everything, let's dive into what would be going on. First up, we're going to be adding our appendings to our row within Google Sheets. So if we pull up our Google Sheet within here, we're just going to add everything into this leads section where it has our icebreakers, our ID, the first name, everything within that. So that is what we are going to work on filling in. From there, we're just going to be connecting to a research prospect node where GPT is just going to essentially, let me save this. I just saw a connection error, so I want to make sure I don't lose any of my progress. Where essentially GPT is going to create all the enrichments for us. Now, I'm not going to dive into this too specifically because you can get this in my community and you can read it for yourself. And I'm, again, trying to keep this video focused where I'm going to say you're a cold email personalization specialist. Your task is to craft brief, conversational opening lines that establish immediate connection with the prospects. So we're giving GPT their first name, their surname, their location, job title, their company, professional summary, their sector, and we're giving it specific examples of what we want our icebreakers to actually sound like and look like. So from there, we're going to then update the row in the sheet where it's going to be filling in this icebreaker line right here. And from there, it's going to upload into instantly and create that campaign for us. Now, before we do that, we are actually going to have to create our instantly campaign. So let's go to login and let's go to our campaigns. Let's add a new campaign and we will just call this real estate wholesalers. There's going to be one or two things that we will need from this. And that is going to be our ID. So if we grab, I believe it would be this ID right here, If you grab that, just make sure if he wants to share the campaign. Okay, yeah, it looks like it would be that ID. Let's go back into N8N. We're going to have to update instantly. So the endpoint we're using right here is api.instantly.ai/API/v2 leads add. We added it in our API key, and we also need to add in our campaign ID. So let's add that in right there. Okay. Now, fingers crossed, it will work the first time. More than likely, it will not. But we're going to essentially just iterate through over a thousand different runs. So let's make sure we're using the proper models. I think if we use GPT-5, it would be moderately expensive if we're going to do 1,000 runs. So we're going to be using a cheaper model. So let's use GPT-5, 5 mini or nano. We'll go with mini. Okay, so we actually don't need this. All right, so let's try running this and start seeing what we are getting. Hopefully it will work in the first run. As you can see, we already ran into an issue. So an expression referencing this node, but the node is unexpected. Consider rewiring your nodes or checking for executions first. So I'm not, okay, maybe it might be this. It says it is there's no connection back to the node, only websites and email, but it's used in an expression here. So let's find where we're actually referencing that. So we don't even need this right here. Estimated number of employees. I mean, we can even add the estimated number of employees from a different node instead. So all of these, they're actually referencing only websites and emails. So let's just start mapping them a bit differently, where only websites and emails, we will be referencing either the if node, or we can do the extract from file node. Both of these would work just fine. So let's just type out instead the extract from file. And let's see, looks like that's not giving us anything either. Okay, so I actually just updated some things. As you guys can see, we just changed it to get the JSON from the previous node, and that's just going to be the if node. So for all of these, it is essentially the same thing, just dragging and dropping everything over. So we're going to append these rows and then run through everything. Now we're using GPT-5 mini. Hopefully that, again, won't take too long. So let's start running this and see what we can get. Go through extract from file, go to this if node, go to the append row. Now everything, fingers crossed, once again, should be running properly. Okay, cool. It's going through the loop. It's going to research the prospect. Let's see. It's already at about 10 seconds or so. So if we're going to run through, a little over 1,000 records, it's going to take quite a while for this to fill in. So definitely going to have this run in the background. But in any case, what's going to happen is it's going to add everything into instantly once it actually finishes everything up. So let me go ahead and do some video magic, and I'll come back to you guys once it is good to go. Okay, great. So now our system has just finished inputting everything into this Google Sheets. I'm not going to scroll to the left, but to the left, we have the emails, we have the names and everything, but I do not want to showcase any of those emails and risk getting this video taken down. So if we scroll to the right, this is what we are looking for, which is the icebreaker. So I can expand this a little bit. So everything, as you guys can see right here, every single one, it has a personalized first line, and that is exactly what we're looking for, and essentially why we really went through using N8N and going through that headache. But it does beat doing everything manually, of course. So we have this icebreaker line: co-owning a home buying business in Jacksonville must bring a unique perspective on the market here. Curious to get your thoughts on something. Leading acquisitions at Home Helpers Group in Fowler must bring unique challenges. Curious to get your thoughts on navigating growth in the space. So the list goes on and on. Now inside of Instantly, if we go into our campaigns, we should see everything added within here. Okay, that looks perfect. Now, this next piece, now that we actually have these emails within here, we have to be going back to our trusty board, and we're going to be getting started on the next stage, which is going to be creating our offer. So everything about offer creation. So let's get started doing that. Now, this is one of the most important pieces and likely where you can be screwing up your email creation in your body copy creation, whatever it may be, and why people may not be responding to you. Most people, they mess this up by just focusing on features instead of transformation. So this is a very important piece right here. So first, we just need to actually understand the transformation that our clients are wanting to make. So for real estate wholesalers, it's not just better call handling. It's never having to worry about missing another motivated seller ever again while converting more leads into actual deals. So let's just put that within here. Instead of saying better call handling, we want to turn this into actually saying, never worry about missing another motivated seller again while converting more leads into actual deals, right? So now saying something like this is going to be essentially like an emotional transformation, going from this to this. So going from anxiety about missing any opportunities to confidence that every single lead is being handled professionally for them, right? So let's just start mapping out their pain sources properly. So for number one for the pain sources, we can say conscious problems. And I know I'm not spelling that properly, conscious problems. So these are going to be like daily obstacles that they may know about. Number two can be any efficiency gaps, where they're experiencing maybe time wasted on any of their manual processes. Number three, operational chaos, where they have a lack of systems and visibility into the systems. Number four, let's try to get a couple more, revenue loss. So revenue loss is just, maybe they have direct money bleeding. And let's do one more. So probably a competitive disadvantage by not having something like this. So competitive disadvantage. Just falling behind their competitors, right? Competidores. I don't know, we're getting into Spanish. Okay, so these are some common pain sources, but for real estate wholesalers in particular, what are they facing themselves? So like we mentioned earlier, they have real estate wholesalers, they have the issue of VA accent issues, whereas our AI is going to be, essentially having AI with perfect local accent, where we have thousands of different accents that we can employ, manual inefficiency as well, where we then have automated 24/7 operations. No visibility is then going to be turning into complete call analytical dashboard. And revenue loss, this is going to turn into never missing a call again. And the competitive advantage or disadvantage will be turning into proprietary AI tech. So let's leave it at that. Next up, this is going to be a pretty critical part, and this is just calculating the value that they're actually getting delivered. So this is really like what justifies our price, right? So we have this time-saving analysis where maybe they're currently spending 20 hours per week handling calls manually. And their time value, let's put it at like, if it is the actual CEO doing the work, then that's about $150 an hour. I mean, I would wage. So their time value, $150 per hour. Wholesaler doing maybe like 5+ deals monthly. Okay. So weekly savings, this can turn into what would like 20 times 150. So that would be about 3,000. Okay. Annual time savings. So that would just be 3,000 times 52, and that is quick maths, 156,000. 156,000. Okay. So let's now look at revenue impact analysis, where one missed deal per quarter, we could say, due to poor call handling. Average deal value, we'll just place like about 15,000, I would say. Average deal value. Yeah. Average deal value, we will do 15K. Annual revenue protection, that would be maybe like 60K. And total annual value, let's now take the annual time savings plus the annual revenue protection. So that's 60K. And this comes out to be 150, or no, that would be 216. 216. Okay, so now with this, let's try creating some sort of value stack where our value stack is going to be just what they are getting, what they get, right? So we can say AI voice agent setup and training. And I mean, like we could put values on every one of these. So let's put like 8,000. I probably won't put a value on every single one, but property data integration, they'll get 24/7 call analytics dashboard. They're also going to be getting a hostile caller management protocol. They'll be getting a definitely like CRM integration and lead routing. They'll also get, we're going to throw in 90-day optimization and support. So let's say like total value that they get from this is like $23,000. But of course, we're not going to be charging them $23,000, although we could. So let's start putting what our pricing actually is going to be. So let's do this. We'll do a $1,500 setup plus we'll keep it very low, plus a $710 per month. We'll just say 700 to keep things a little rounded. We'll say $700 per month. So what would that be? That's a 6-to-1 ratio. If we would put, like 3,000 on this, 23,000 to this little number, that would probably be about a 6-to-1 ratio. So this is what we're actually looking for, making sure that, this number is going to be higher and, encouraging our prospects that they're getting a good deal from this. Next up, this is going to be risk elimination. So from here, risk elimination. So this is just where we are going to be making them feel like we are eating all of the risk. So we can guarantee them different things to account for that. So we can say book 25% more qualified appointments in your first 30 days, or we'll refund your setup fee, pay you, I don't know, we'll say $500 for your time, and continue optimizing your system free for 60 days. So we may not actually go about employing this strategy because I'm not so sure that we can actually achieve that, just based on, I'm not going to always know their lead flow. So maybe their lead flow is pretty low, but if they are running ads, or if we're going to run ads for them, then I can guarantee these results because the systems that we build out are very realistic and accountable and reliable. Okay, so for them, we really want them to just make sure and feel like this is going to be a complete transformation for them, which it really will be. So the key principle here is just to know, for them to know that we are not just selling call handling for them. We're selling the transformation from going to be anxiety ridden about any missed deals to having confidence in their systematic lead conversions. right? So this is where we're now just going to dive a little bit into email strategy. So let's start setting that up. So email number 1, and we're going to do about 4 emails in total, where we have 1 main email and then 3 follow-up emails. So email number 1, this will just be about problem amplification plus like some sort of like transformation preview. Ignore my spelling. The subject, I mean, it's usually, we're always just saying like something to do like hi name and including quick question, something like that. Or we can say something else like something relevant to their pain points or something to do with generating more leads or missing deals. Is poor call handling costing you 15K deals? Stuff like that. That's just something that's going to get the attention of our prospects and actually open up the email. And if you guys do experience any issues with email opens and you have a low open rate, it's directly because of your subject line. So that one's pretty easy to identify. Now, email number 2, I mean, these are all just going to be simple follow-ups. Email 2, so maybe we can show some social proof. I always like to keep my follow-up emails like actually having value and making them like say like, wow, maybe I should consider this again, right? So social proof or value demonstration, and still same CTA. Email number 3, I would still employ this. So let's change that to 3. And I would also do the same thing for, which is going to be email 4. And then email 5, this is just going to be a meme. So I always like to include like a Kevin Hart meme, you know, the one where he's on stage and he's, you know, kind of looking very surprised is a, for lack of a better term, I'll say surprised. Something like that, something funny, just saying like, hey, you didn't open my email, so here's a meme. And that usually gets at least some sort of response where people appreciate something comical in their inbox, where it's typically full of people like us reaching out. So in a world full of serious people, we're trying to break the ice just a little bit further. So when your offer with all of this, like what we're just trying to do is to solve a giant problem for them and translate that within our offer. So when your offer actually solves a, you know, 6-figure annual problem for 5 figures, the emails, they practically write themselves. So you're really not convincing them that they need a solution. You're more so just proving that you have the best solution to a problem that they already know is costing them money. So just keep that in mind. But that being said, let's now jump into phase number 5. And phase number 5 is going to be email infrastructure setup. So if you guys remember, I mentioned that we are going to be using Instantly. So again, use whatever you would like Smart Lead or Lemlist, I know is another good option, but Instantly just always been reliable for me. No particular reason, no specific or particular reason why I'm going to use it. So again, we've already created our campaign. We have our leads all inputted within here. But now we just have to break down the math of sending emails and how many emails you need. And just breaking down the logic, how many emails can you be sending per email account? So you guys can see I have 60 different domains. We're only going to be using 55 of those because some of these like have very low health scores. So I'm working on getting those back up. As you can tell, it looks like we could actually, some of them are rising, except for this Dixby one. But anyways, so this part is pretty crucial to understand. So I'm just going to be mapping it out once again. So let's go to, oops, that was meant to be a box. So let's create this box right here. And this is going to be all about the math of the emails. So very crucial to understand. So we have 55 pre-warmed up email accounts connected to our Instantly account. So again, we're going to be running 4-step sequences where we have one initial email and then 3 follow-ups. Okay. Now, this is essentially how the volume distribution works. So we have a total of 55 accounts. Okay. And we can be sending about, 30 emails per day. And that would come out to be about like 1650 emails per day. If we multiply that by 55. So 1,650 emails per day. And remember, like, this is getting split across our 4 sequences. So let's just do some math where 1650 divided by 4 steps. So that would come out to be, let me pull up my phone. That is about 412 new prospects that we can contact per day. Now, weekly, if we just take the 412 times 6, because we're sending Monday through Saturday, so we are including a weekend, that would be about 2,472 per week. All right. So every single Sunday, we're going to have to add 2,472 new emails. So we have about 1,400 emails. So that's a little under half of, this number right here. So we didn't get as many leads as we would like, but it's a little bit tough trying to scrape for something so niche, but that's okay. We'll start with a little under half of this and we'll be fine. Or a little more than half of this, I should be saying. So again, day 1, this is going to be initial email. So like our demo offer. And then day 3, we'll be sending follow-up 1, and we'll space it up into day 6, which is going to be follow-up 2. Day 9, this is going to be follow-up 3. And unfortunately, you guys won't be able to see all the way up to week 9 because I don't want this to be a 2-week video, but perhaps in the future I will make this more expensive. But perhaps in the future I will expand on this a little bit further and make it more comprehensive, where it can be a 2-week process of us trying to close a client. But hopefully we're able to close people just off of these few days, which you guys will see. So essentially, like, each prospect is just going to stay in our sequence for about like 10 days total. So this just means that I need approximately like 2,500 fresh leads every Sunday to keep the pipeline full. Not like 5,000 like most people may think, but now I just want to explain a little bit. Like, a lot of people, they may just do like 1, maybe 2 follow-ups. But with 3 follow-ups, essentially just having 4 emails, I mean, we could contact 825 new prospects daily. So with this 3 follow-up process, sorry, I'm holding up a 4. This 3 follow-up process with 1 initial email, so 4 emails in total. This 4 email sequence, it's giving us just more touch points to actually convert, which typically increases the overall response rate, especially if you can include a meme at the end. Even though we contact fewer people daily, which, it's definitely worth including. Now, let's just go back into Instantly, and I want to showcase how you can actually be getting emails from them. So you do have a few options here, but I would recommend this approach because it's going to be the fastest approach. So in one of these, we can buy, not inbox placements, email accounts. And if we go to add new, they have pre-warmed up accounts. So right now they're sold out. You could also do this done for you email setup, which it's going to be pretty expensive. So I would not recommend doing that, but they do have the pre-warmed up accounts. So once these do drop, I would recommend going with them. There is going to be some other email providers that you guys can be using. So like Email Astra, I'll make sure it's to include it within either in the description or in a post within my Skool community. Skool community is completely free, by the way. So with all of these, I did not have to warm up these accounts because you do have to warm up your accounts for 14 days minimum to ensure that you're going to be landing in inbox. As I mentioned earlier, it's very important that we have warmed up emails. Whereas the alternative, it's just going to be essentially buying your own domains and warming them up yourself. But this has major downsides. Again, like one, it takes 14 days to properly warm up, and you need to set up like all the technical infrastructure yourself, like the DNS records, the SPF, the DKIM, the DMARC. And honestly, like your time is just much better spent on higher value activities like building demos and reaching out to more people yourself. So for the cost difference, like pre-warmed up accounts, albeit from like you instantly or whatever else, like it's absolutely worth it. And you can also just start sending immediately instead of having to wait 2 weeks. And you avoid all the technical setup headaches. So let's go into our campaign and let's go to schedule. So let's just set this up. We are going to be sending Monday through Saturday. So let's include that. And we're going to be sending from 9 to 5 p.m. We could even do 6 p.m., but we'll send from 9 to 5. So we will save this. We don't really want to hit people up at weird hours. That kind of just screams like automated campaign. But anyways, from here, let's go into the options. Let me just make sure I'm in the right campaign. Okay, yeah, we are real estate wholesalers and accounts to use. Just select all of your accounts. In a second, I will remove the ones that have very low deliverability. So I'm going to have to isolate those. So there's a lot of accounts within this. Okay, so let's go down here, save this. Let's go into our email accounts. So it's going to be Alex@Dixby. I think all of them from Dixby should probably just be disabled or not in use. Evlerks, Dixby, Evlerks. What else? Okay. Dixby and Ellerks, however I pronounce that. Looks like I didn't save it properly. So let's try this again. Add all of these so we can remove the Dixby. Okay. Let's open up all of them. Actually not. Okay, let me try that one more time. Okay, so just removed all of them. I didn't want you guys to have to watch and stick through all of that. So what we're going to be doing is we can keep this enabled where we're just stop sending emails on reply. Open tracking. Typically I disable this. Usually my open rate's at least like 60-70%, which is very solid. Also, like if you enable this, this can hurt deliverability, especially for first emails. Delivery optimization, we can enable this. So send first emails as text only. Daily limit, we are going to want to do 1650. So this was again like 55 accounts times 30 emails per account. Let's see what else. The owner, obviously that's going to be us. Custom tags, we don't have to do anything within that. Time gap between emails, I mean, this could be about like 8 or 9 minutes. We'll just do like 7 minutes. Max new leads, this is going to be, we're contacting 412 maximum new amount of leads per day. Prioritize new leads, so prioritize reaching out to new leads over scheduled follow-ups. I am going to enable that. Auto optimize AZ testing, we don't really need that. Provider matching, don't include that as well. Stop campaign for company on reply, we don't have to do that. Stop sending emails on auto reply. We can't enable this. This just stops like any out of office emails. So stop on auto reply, insert unsubscribe link header. I'm not going to include that. And everything else we can just keep as default. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this, make sure everything looks good. 1650, yeah, it's pretty much the biggest thing we need to include within there. All right, so now another piece that I would like to mention is going about sending looms. So again, like I mentioned, we're not going to be going with the loom strategy within this particular video. Again, like maybe in the future, if you guys would like to see that, we can go through doing the loom strategy where you could just create personalized looms for each video, or you can use like Loom's AI feature, which is just released. So instead of just like text personalization, you can record like a 30, 60 second video just mentioning their specific business, their recent deals or market area. And this can get you up to like 3x higher reply rates than our enriched text approach. But the trade is going to be the volume. So you might only send like 20 to 30 personalized Loom emails per day instead of like 400 of what we're sending. But if you are in a high value niche or just like testing a proven campaign, the personalized video approach, it can be very, very effective. So everything is now good. We have Instantly all set up. We have our 55 email accounts. So let's just get into actually writing our email copy. So that is going to be phase 6, which is super exciting. We're almost done with this first day. So we are now just going to be creating our email sequences. So we kind of already got to start wherever it was. Just mentioning a little bit about what we're actually doing. Now within this, we already have a testimonial, being that we are working with a real estate wholesaler and we're implementing with another wholesaler right now. So we already have a testimonial that we're going to leverage, but if you guys don't have any testimonials yourself, that's completely fine. Although like you will want to be working for free, and I do recommend working for free until you get that first testimonial. So did want to include that. But anyways, let's now jump into Instantly and let us start creating our sequences. So we have a clean slate right here. Beautiful. So our subject line, we could do something like quick question. And this is where we'll insert their first name. And we could actually test if this will work. If we go to select data, quick question, Jeff. You can see we're sending this to Jeff Hauser. Cool. So let's just start inserting something. Now, what I'm about to do right here, this is called spin tags. So spin tags just essentially reduces any risk of deliverability rates or deliverability issues. So instead of saying like hi every single time, you could say hey, or you could say, actually, I just want to do those two. Hey, and then we'll just include their first name. So this is what it would look like. Instead of saying either one of these every single time, it'll look like, hey, Eric, or sometimes it can say, hey, let's try to find another example where it says hi. Okay, well, looks like we don't have any more that we could test out. But more or less, that's what spin tags is. Not sure what's going on there. Sure, let's do that. I think that'll look a little bit weird. Yeah, see there's that space between the comma. So I'm not sure what the issue is there. Okay, there we go. All right, so this is where we're going to include our, where would it be? We have our personalization right here. So here you can see, this is where our enrichment is coming into play. So instead of saying something very generic, like I saw you, or maybe like I found your profile online, found your website, and I scraped your email, whatever. Instead of creating something so generic, we're saying something that is much more personalized and really just trying to translate that this isn't a spam email. So we're saying your work bridging, housing sales, and operator placement stands out. Few actually navigate both with such focus. Curious to get your thoughts on some trends I'm seeing in development. So this is where we're going to be including our offer. Now we're not really going to be including any more personalizations. So for the first email, because some of these personalizations, it already says like curious, we're not going to say like quick question or curious to get your thoughts, which is like something that I would often do in the past. But instead, like what we're just going to try saying is, you know, we're just going to get straight to the point. So let's try writing out like, and this is just where we're mentioning their pain points and being very upfront about the issues that they're facing. So between missed or poorly handled calls and the cost of VAs or call centers, how much deal flow do you think slips through the cracks each month? Okay, so I might tweak this a little bit further, but I think this is a good foundation to start from. So between missed and poorly handled calls and the cost of VAs, let's make this a little bit easier to read. VAs or call centers, how much deal flow do you think slips through the cracks each month? So we're definitely leveraging what we were creating in the offer creation part. Let's continue that a little bit. We set up an AI call center for Jason from Bandaland, another real estate company. We could say wholesaler, but let's just say real estate company. We recently set up something for Jason, and within his first 30 days, he closed a $100K deal using it. Would you be open if we spun up a quick demo for, and this is where we can insert their company, or because I haven't exactly ensured that everything within here, I haven't cleaned up these company names, but what you can actually do is if you go to this AI prompts up here, you can use the company name cleanup, but I'm not gonna waste the time on that. All about speed right now. So you can see like some of these things are pretty long. WGM, LLC. Yeah, I don't really like those. So we don't just want to include company name where it's going to be kind of messy like that. So we're just going to say, would you be open if we spin up a quick demo for you and the team? Just to show you how well it actually works. We'll also include no cost. Do a hyphen. Okay, so we'll do a hyphen, break up the sentence a little bit just to show you how well it actually works. And then down here is where we would include our signatures, where it would look a little something like this. So we have Alex Walker, partner at Dixby, Charlotte, North Carolina, where anytime if somebody's going to search up Dixby, so I think it's Dixby.com, is that what it is? Maybe? No, wrong domain. Anyways, all of these websites are forwarded to my website, or all these domains are forwarded to my website, rather, I should say. All right, well, I think that is good enough for this first email. And of course, like, you always are going to have to change things. And this is why we track all of our metrics and ensure that we're trying to, or just ensure that we're hitting our KPIs. So making sure that we have at least like a 60% open rate and whatever else. So just keep in mind, like the first iteration, it's not always going to be the best. And it's just, obviously you try to make it to the best of your ability, but you will have to tweak things. And that is why they have these features to add these variants and test things out. So I'm actually just going to copy all of this and we're just gonna do the same thing. Do quick question, first name again. So we'll do the same subject. We do not want to be testing more than like one thing or two things at a time. So the things we're going to be testing and just changing up, I think it should be these two. Again, like you usually do not want to test more than one thing at a time. Because if you do, like, how are you going to be able to tell like which thing made the improvement? Is it the body copy or is it your value prop or like the pain point line? Like what is it in particular? So what I'm going to say is just right after the personalization is like, how many deals do you lose each month from leads that go unanswered or get slow responses? And then this is where we get into our solution. I'm not going to say we just, because I want them to feel like we have been in the space for a long time, which I mean, we have. I ask because we have a system that directly solves for this, that answers every call and message immediately, 24/7, and books appointments directly into your calendar. I suppose like we can consider adding something like even at 2 a.m. just to really seal the deal. So how many deals do you, let's preview this a little bit. Hey Jeff, your work bridging housing sales and operator placement stands out. Few navigate both with such focus. Curious to get your thoughts on some trends I'm seeing in development. How many deals do you lose each month from leads that go unanswered or get slow responses? I ask because we have a system that directly solves for this, that answers every call and message immediately, 24/7, and books appointments directly into your calendar, even at 2 a.m. I do like this. I feel like that there is some conflictions between these three lines though. But for the time being, I am just going to leave it and we can make adjustments as needed. So let's actually include the line for that we mentioned about Jason as well. Let's actually put this within here as well. We recently set up. Okay, I think that's looking good. And the thing that we'll be testing is this line. Yeah, so it's just this line that we're going to be testing to see which one actually performs better. And then from there, we'll know what we should be moving forward with. And from there, we can even tweak the body copy and call to action, which will be open if we spun up a quick demo for you and the team at no cost, just to show you how well that actually works. Let's actually say, let's try to make it like very easy for them to say, okay, so I can have it ready by tomorrow. Just apply yes if you're interested. Okay, so I think that would be good enough. Let's include that within this one as well. All right, next steps. This is going to be the follow-up. So send the next message. We are going to be doing this within, let's put it to 2 days. Yeah, we'll do 2 days. Now the subject within here, we can just keep this empty to use the previous subject line. Or I mean, like we can often say like something like demo ready. Let's try demo ready. Demo ready. Your free demo is ready. Okay, let's try that. Let's include first name. Not sure why it keeps doing that with me. Maybe if we, okay, there we go. First name. I'm just following up on the AI call center I mentioned earlier. I built a working prototype. How motivated sellers would experience calling your number. Similar to what we created for Jason from Bannerland. Company before his 6-figure. We actually don't need that other part. So, so let's say Jason's agent, he named her Grace, even handles the angry callers automatically. So his team never has to deal with that negativity. Okay. Mind if I send you this 2-minute demo? You can test it yourself and see exactly how it would work for your team. Best. Let's just include signature here. Signature, okay. Let's make sure that looks fine. Maybe we'll also want to say like, I can send you over the testimonial if you're interested. No, let's, perhaps we can include that in the future, but for now, let's just leave it as this. So send the next message in, we'll do like 3 days. Typically we'll do like 3 or 4 days. So within this step 3, so the second follow-up that we're going to be sending, this is going to be maybe like a last attempt to get the demo. So we can say something like, hey, first name. And that reminds me, I don't think we actually included a hey in this right here. So let's throw that within there. Hey, first name. Just to remind you, or we could say like just to catch you up, we could say something like, we've built several prototypes or systems for several wholesalers this month, including Jason from Bannerland. We have a system that directly, let's actually put this on a new line. Just to catch you up, we have a system that directly solves for any lost deals. Just send over a yes, and I'll create a demo for you as soon as possible. We can include our signature. All right. So usually we'll want to include a little bit more social proof or just like more value within the email, but I think this is going to be just fine for this. And then the last email that we're going to actually just be creating, this is going to be just a simple meme. So let me go ahead and import that really quick. Okay, so here is the meme that I was actually referring to. So we're just gonna include like a funny caption. We could say something like, we're actually going to put it here. Just going to say like, me waiting for you to realize that this prints you money. Okay. So we're just gonna say at the bottom, in all seriousness, we love the opportunity to solve it. Just shoot over a quick reply and we can set something up, or I can send over a demo if you're interested. And we'll include the signature one last time. Okay, it looked like, I thought there was some sort of typo there, but I don't see it. In all seriousness, we have a solution that directly solves for a pain point in your industry, and we love the opportunity to put this into practice for you. Just shoot over a quick reply and we can set something up, or I can send over a demo if you're interested. Okay, that's actually perfect. I love that. Send the next message in, we'll do 3 days. So we'll set that up for 3 days. Okay. And yeah, so that's essentially going to be everything. So usually what we do from here, it's usually just like a final check where we want to check if there's any typos within our messaging, anything like that, because it can drastically diminish any of our chances. So make sure the schedule looks good. Sending Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5. So it's currently like 10 p.m. at night. So obviously you do not want to send these. So I will be sending them tomorrow. And if I do end up receiving replies tomorrow, then I will record the video once we get some replies. So we'll dive into that on the second piece, which will be just in a few minutes for you guys. But yeah, you guys can see like it wasn't a very, it was a pretty sloppy process, but we were following a very particular framework where we're first starting out with the niche selection, going to the service identification, then to the lead sourcing, offer creation, email infrastructure setup, campaign creation and copy, launch and monitoring. So do whatever it takes just to get something up and running and start outreaching to clients, because you will learn as you start executing. But in any case, I will see you guys on day 2. So fast forward a few days, it's now Monday, and we have sent about 2,500 emails. We now have some replies. You can see step 1 has sent out about 700 of these variation A's, and let's say like 650 of the step B's, or they're actually both about the same. Step 2, we've only sent 1 day or done 1 day of follow-ups. So we haven't gotten a chance to really capitalize on all the leads that we have gotten. But in any case, let's see all the results. So we have 1 yes, we have 1 send it over please. I don't know what yes really entails. I guess just sending over the Loom video. We have some unsubscribes. These are auto replies, as you guys can see. And we do have another one. So we have 3 positive replies right there. So with this, they're just asking like to see the demo first. With this, what we want to do is we want to track all these results. And this is something that I should have done right away, but we are going to be using this email metric tracker. So you guys can get this within my free school community. But what you're going to do is track how many emails sent every single day. So if we go inside of Instantly, we'll want to be marking this down. So you guys can see on Wednesday, September 24th, we didn't send anything. Okay. The 25th, we sent out 412 emails. On Thursday, Friday, 412. Saturday, this was 822. This was including one of the follow-up stages. And today, it was about 800 as well. So we just want to make sure that we are tracking all of this inside of this email metrics tracker. And what we're aiming for is about a 60% plus open rate. And for the reply rate, we're aiming for about 8 to 15%. And if we were to input everything within here, so we have 400, we're not tracking the opens. If we would like, we can actually go within our settings and we can enable the open rate. Sometimes if you have a suspicion that the open rate is pretty bad and you want to just ensure that it's actually, above 60%, what you want to do is we just go into enable the open tracking right here. You will have to disable a couple other things, but that's a way to just determine, that your subject line is not performing properly, and be able to improve that. So we're using quick question. It's one of the most common, most saturated ones in the space, but it does work pretty well still. So I'm going to continue using this one, but I implore you guys, if you suspect that your open rate is pretty bad and not 60%, and you just need to do whatever it takes to get better results, then I would turn that on, because you guys can see we have it disabled right here. Anyways, so for example, let's go to Thursday. We sent 400 emails. And what we're going to do, so opens, I'm not exactly sure what this is. The replies, let's say just for this day, we have 3 replies from. So 3 of them are positive. Booked appointments, we still have 0. So you can see it's automatically going to track everything for you. So our positive reply rate, it's about 0.75. Our open rate to positive reply rate, 0.75, and so on and so forth. So it should be actually tracking everything within here. So it is not right now. Perhaps I need the opens. No. So I would have to do some configurations with all of these, but feel free to explore that for yourself. But just make sure that you are tracking everything, because if you're not tracking things, then there's no way to improve and get better. Now from here, what we're also wanting to be using is our engaged prospect tracker. So we had 3 prospects that followed up. So prospect 1, prospect 2, prospect 3. So just mark down the date that you actually have received these replies from and the date that you have mentioned your follow-up. So you'll want to be sending 8 different follow-ups. So follow-up 1, follow-up 2, follow-up 3, so on and so forth. Just make sure you are consistently following up with them. I highly encourage you to find their LinkedIn and find their phone number if possible, because these are people who are giving you chances. So just make sure that you are capitalizing on every single reply. But from here, it's all about just tweaking your sequences, tweaking your stimuli to make them just a little bit better. So if we found that it's the open rate that's the issue, well, then we just want to change the subject line, test that out for a few days. Do not test anything else. And if we find that, the open rate's 90%, but people are just not positively responding or just responding at all, well, if that's the case, then you want to be basically changing one thing at a time. So maybe you want to be changing your personalization line, or maybe it's your offer. It's most likely your offer that sucks, or the lead quality. So there's going to be a few different things. So let's go back into our board, try to find where we were working within. Okay, so within here, basically there's a few different ways to improve your emails. Now let's find a good clean space. So we have different components. So obviously we have the greeting that really should never change. We then have the personalization line. We have the body copy, and then we have the call to action, right? Let's separate this a little bit. With all of these things, you want to be tracking one different thing or changing one thing at a time. So the greeting, as I mentioned, this is never going to be changing. The personalization line, you can tweak this a little bit. You can get a little bit more custom if you would like to. You can be researching your prospects even further and really going the distance to proving that you are a real person, first of all, and not just sending them a automated email list or anything like that, just spam emails. So really doing some research on them and showing them that you can actually help them. The next thing is going to be the body copy. So being able to say different things like, this is where your offer is going to be. So maybe mentioning their pain points a little bit differently or whatever else it may be, but you just want to tweak one thing at a time. The call to action, like, are you going to be asking for booking a meeting, asking to be sending over some sort of free value? What is it that you're asking for? Generally, there's only so much you can do with the call to action, but I would recommend asking to send over some form of free value. Now, something that I have seen work very well within this space is sending over a Loom video, as I mentioned earlier, but sending it within the first email. So not asking to be sending over a Loom video, just sending a Loom video. I actually hate using the drawing because my drawing is terrible, but just sending a Loom video in the first email. This works really well. I have seen I've actually asked some people who have reached out to me asking what their reply rate was, and it was about 20%, with half of them being positive replies of the people who were actually sending out the Loom videos. So it was a very good rate that he was receiving from his cold email campaign. So highly recommend to go this approach of sending Loom videos, but it does take a while, but it will, if you have a list of, let's say, like 100 people, so you have 100 leads, and these are ideally dream leads of yours. So people who are actually qualified and really need your service. So if you have 100 leads and you research them thoroughly and you are actually like showcasing in the email that you can help them and that you did your research on them, and if you are, just sending a personalized Loom video, you are going to get such a better response rate, a positive reply rate. And that's obviously what you're looking for, because those is what you can spiral into a booked call and hopefully close them from there, which is a whole nother can of worms, being able to focus on sales. But in any case, if you are struggling with sending mass volume, just consider maybe I just need to customize and personalize all of these emails much more. Now, another thing to consider, if you are not seeing any good results from your emails, well, obviously check your offer. It's usually your offer. Check your open rate, making sure that you are actually, people are actually open your emails and that not everything is going to spam. So what you can do is you can actually check if something is going to spam. We can go into, I believe it would be preview, right? You can go to check deliverability score. So if we open this up, I don't want to showcase any of the emails, but check deliverability score for every one of your emails, and it will show you, are you landing in spam? Because it'll say, if you have 100% deliverability rate, or do you have 60%? If you have 60%, you have real problems. But in any case, if it's not any of those things, then it's probably the lead quality. So where you're actually getting those leads from, you need to consider that and consider maybe different options, like maybe going to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or going online and finding, maybe scraping Google Maps, whatever it may be. But in any case, I'm not going to be showcasing, trying to get these people on a call. I'm going to end the video here, but if you guys are interested in this type of video and it actually helps you out, I'm happy to, do another video where we are, going through some more live results. I'll showcase, or at least try to showcase, what the sales calls look like. I typically never share my live sales calls just because I'm not sure if there's any privacy issues with any of that. I'm sure if I just get permission from them, it should be fine if it's for educational purposes. But with that being said, that is everything that we're going to be covering. So at the end of the day, if you are just talking to business owners and maximizing, well, really, you're just going to be maximizing your chances of success, first of all. But if you are using every single platform like LinkedIn, cold email, really wherever your niche is residing, and you are showcasing real problems that they have, not something that you're just imagining, and showcasing a solution that actually helps them, you will get replies. It's just a matter of time. Alex Hormozi says something. It's that volume negates luck. And that's absolutely true and absolutely like what we see within this agency space. If you're consistently putting in the volume, and I'm not talking about just spamming some shitty cold emails. Like if you are actually providing like value within your cold email and you are consistently finding qualified leads to send those to, it's only a matter of time that you will get results. You just have to consistently be able to put in the effort and just execute time in and time out. Another thing that Hormozi says that I really appreciate is, how long can you go without seeing results? And that's really what makes people succeed and what separates somebody from who quits and never sees the success that they always hope to achieve. And these entrepreneurs that we're seeing within the space thrive. But in any case, I spent a lot of time in this video and constructing everything. I tried to make it as honest and true as possible. And of course, trying to be as live as possible. It's a bit tough making it a few different days. But with that being said, if you guys are interested in, working with us one-on-one, our team, we take on a few people every single month to teach them, really take them under our wing and help them get clients, through methods like this, but also a few different approaches. But it's basically just a way for us to take everything that we have learned and instill it inside of their business and maximize their chance of success. But in any case, if you're interested in that, you can apply down below in the description. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, drop a comment if you guys like this video, of course, and I'll see you in the next one.